Before I start, I want to make sure that, it's as friendly and inclusive as possible. I know some people don't like the term disorder about their own medical situation, or, atypical or condition, even in some cases. And I will be using them because I'm comfortable with those terms. But if you're not one of those people, that's fine. I'm not going to say you're wrong. It's not my right at all to tell you what you can or cannot feel or think. But self-care is important. So if those are terms that will upset you, just don't watch. I'm not going to be offended at all. Looking after yourself is important. But without further ado, for those who are fine with it, let's talk about the last month, shall we? So in the last video, I mentioned my autism diagnosis, which, yes, I still stand by the fact that I feel validated by that being proven. But there is also a tinge of sadness to it. Whilst in my nearly 42, in a month's time, I will be 42, I will know the secrets and the answer to the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. I will not stop making that joke for the next year, I promise. But still, I have spent all this time having treatments that, yes, have worked on the symptoms, but the underlying cause is still there and perhaps less well managed than it would have been with something more tailored. I've had child psychologists, including one whose entire job seemed to be talking in a very calm, slow, low-toned manner, just to lull me into a false sort of sleep, sort of like a hypnotic trance for the next 2 weeks until he sees me again. Because, you can't be a problem behaviourally if you're asleep. It did feel like that. Family members agree, it's not just me. But I've had that, I've had CBT, and as of me recording this tomorrow, I'm having my first CBT lecture for the counselling course. I'm going to be nice because I know it works for some people, just not for me. Generally not for neurodivergence, something about that. But I've had that, I've had various other talking therapies, I've had medication. And again, some of it's helped with the symptoms either at the time, or some of it has been, long-term and helped more meaningfully. But there's still been this undercurrent of something. But I've had to learn how to survive in the world. I've been the square peg hammering its way into the round hole, rather than just finding the round peg. And that's what the diagnosis is, it's the round peg, so that peg can go into that hole, it fits, it's designed for it, and it just makes life a lot simpler. That analogy worked better than I thought. But that's it, I've had to just survive in a lot of ways, rather than thriving. And now I can learn to do that. But like I say, there is a sadness. There is a life that I haven't lived. We all have them. Every decision we make, everything that happens to us, there's always going to be at least one other way things could have gone. Like just choosing what you have for breakfast in the morning, you never know. There's weird knock-on effects that can happen. But I do wonder, and I have been for the last sort of 4 weeks or so, of what would have happened if I'd had a diagnosis earlier? How would that have changed my life? Would I be much better? Would I be thriving? Or would I not? I'm never going to know. None of us can. But there is a version of me out there who had a diagnosis, say, at age 5. And probably back then it might have been Asperger's, who knows? Because that was a term we could use. I might have had this diagnosis. But there is a realistic part of me, because I'm not a fool all the time. Sometimes. Everyone can be a fool sometimes. But I'm under no illusion that just having a diagnosis would have improved my life. In the 80s, 90s, special educational needs and all that kind of stuff, SEND, all that, it wasn't so robust, I would say, as it is today. These days, there are people who are more intellectually challenged, and there are people who specialise in helping those. There are people with behavioural issues, and there are people who help with those. There's even schools that divide those two out so that the behavioural ones aren't potentially upsetting the ones with intellectual challenges. Sometimes there's crossover, and you just have to obviously find out which is the best fit, of course, but there's a lot more flexibility, there's a lot more assistance, there's a lot more understanding of the different needs of different diagnoses, different conditions, different disorders. But back when I was a kid, it was pretty much, if you are in that category, just sit at the back, eat glue, don't be a problem. And yeah, would I have survived as well in that environment? The intellectual side of me not being nurtured, the academic achievements I made throughout my childhood, a little bit into adolescence until I found my first proper girlfriend, but now I'm coming back to that. A lot of things would potentially not have happened because I would have just been seen as a write-off. When I transitioned from a different area entirely and had to join a new school, imagine the help and the impact of my behavioural issues if I'd have, just been able to have someone there saying, okay, we're going to help you through this transition. You're new to the school. Let's assess you. Let's figure out what you need. Let's work with you. Just someone there for me to help me adjust outside of just my family, etc. and the general school environment. That would have been amazing. But again, would it have been there? I was once assessed for special educational needs when I moved from middle school to a high school. And I was actually told that, no, I don't meet the criteria because I'm too clever. Again, it just shows that it was more about your intelligence. So I don't know if a diagnosis would have changed it necessarily, because it would have gone, well, you're intellectually fine, so we'll just tolerate behavioural issues. I don't know. Some schools, they might have just been like, well, there's a risk, so I'm not going to. And then I would have probably been in worse schools and they would have been less supportive. Again, it's these kind of things. I will not know which way it went. But what if I'd have had the support and it would have helped me thrive? What if when I entered the world of work even, I'd have had a much better transition into that? Because things could have been put in place. Again, given the time, probably not as much as would be available now. But there are all these things that could have helped me thrive and not have some of the issues in life that I've had. Some of the problems that I've had to face and some of the even legal troubles might not have happened. But would I have moved to the area I'm living in now? Would I have met the person who helped me even start this YouTube channel? Or helped me, understand being a musician more and therefore have music released? Would I have had all that? Would I have found my partner, for crying out loud, There are a lot of things that have happened because my life has gone the way it has. As with all of us. We all are a series of decisions leading to the now. Every moment is a new line in your story. And it's important to, whilst you can, I'm not saying having regrets or, like a what if kind of scenario play out in your head. I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. But I think it's worth understanding that you have things now that those scenarios wouldn't give you. And yeah, okay, in some people, the alternative is better, the grass is greener, etc. But I think it's all about just understanding what Gandalf said. I mean, a lot of what Gandalf said. But specifically, that all we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. That is it. No, what about this, what about that? Just, this is the time you've got. Make the best of it with what you have available. Any challenges you have, do what you can within those. Look after yourself and just be the best you can be, whatever that shape or whatever shape that takes. And that's how, as much as I wonder what help could have been there earlier, what changes in my life, I'm happy with what I've got now, the time that I have given to me now. So this isn't a call to action. I don't like doing it on these, but I am genuinely curious. For those who are late diagnosed, and I know in my situation, like I think late diagnosis as 40-something, these days, people of late teens, 20s consider themselves late diagnosed because we've had much better diagnosis availability, etc. But whatever age you were, as long as you are considering yourself or others consider you late diagnosed, does this ring true, this idea of what if? What are these other bits of my life that I never got to experience? I'm genuinely curious. I'm not going to use it for anything, although maybe a research project in the future might be interesting. But still, please let me know your thoughts, if you're late diagnosed. I mean, even if you're not, maybe if you were diagnosed, you're like, well, what would have happened if I wasn't? That's interesting as well. But sound off, let me know what you think. And yeah, I'll be back next month. Hopefully less, introspective and reflective, although I am a counselling student, so no promises. But until next time, as always, thank you for watching. Take care, and remember to just appreciate what you have as much as you can.